Coming to you from Dynatrace Perform in Las Vegas, it's Pure Performance.
Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another awesome interview with one of our great partners here at Dynatrace Perform, Robert.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Robert, you're with Magenic?
I am.
And you know Paul Grisafi.
I do know Paul.
We're going to spend the next 35
Paul's
minutes
my
just
cousin.
talking about Paul.
That's your cousin.
Yeah, we're related by haircut.
That's not fair.
That is not fair.
That's not right. But welcome. Has Magenic been a partner here at Perform before? Is this your first Perform?
No, this is my second.
Yeah.
We were here last year.
Cool.
We got a full taste of what Dynatrace can do last year, and it was amazing. Overly technical last year. It blew a lot of our minds. And then this year it was, outcome driven.
Cool.
So the change, the tone of what we heard this year versus what we heard last year was more focused on results, businesses, and
value.
And that for us just means a lot more. I mean, the technology is great, but we got to translate that to our customers and what it seems like.
Oh, hi.
And look,
This is Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson joins us.
Hi,
I was
Brian.
just sliding into an open spot.
Yeah. So, Robert, if you could, just a little bit, tell us a little bit about Magenic for folks that don't know.
So we're a professional services company. We're a partner of Dynatrace. We've been around for about 25 years. We have 7 offices across the United States, and we have an offshore office in Manila, Philippines, one of my favorite places to go.
Really? Cool.
Some of the best staff we have is out of our Philippines office.
Awesome.
And they do everything from QA to DevOps, and they're leading some of the charges right now with some of our certifications around Dynatrace as well.
Yeah, very,
That's
very
awesome.
cool. And again, we mentioned other folks we know. There were some other folks back in the Minneapolis office I knew. Being a Minnesotan myself, I don't often tell people I'm born in the motherland. Where
We can tell by the hair.
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very Minnesota.
Something about negative 24 Fahrenheit,
Where your hair goes white.
where your hair goes white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like a White Walker. I was like Gandalf the Gray, then it became Gandalf the White.
Every time I go back to Minnesota, that's where our corporate office is at. I live in Ohio, and it's like I always say it's north of the wall. It's north of the wall because that's how cold it is.
Oh my gosh, I never really thought about that. But in particular, for your participation here, did you actually have a session talk?
I actually had a talk right over there at one of the off stations.
the breakout
and,
booth, yeah.
The breakout booth. And we talked about how we leverage Dynatrace in cloud modernization efforts. So for me, it takes the human out of it, and I like that, so I don't have to I can talk to less people, get data faster, and how we leverage Smartscape and the multi-cloud strategies with the Dynatrace platform to show what it looks like before and after we modernize apps.
Yeah.
So if you think about, customers like CFOs and CIOs, they go, what am I going to get when I move to the cloud? And I have to show performance increases. And I have to have numbers. Dynatrace gives me those numbers right away.
Yeah.
And for us, that's important. So I can say, hey, your app was crappy here, but now it's better, and now it can scale in the cloud.
So if a second was worth $1 million and you can show 2 seconds of improvement.
Well, I like to say it's $2 million of improvement, but I can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
Now you use the word crappy.
Yes,
Yeah, it has appy in it.
it does.
It's the first time it really struck me that your app could be crap,
Yeah, it can.
but it's not Scottish.
It's a crap.
But it means it is not Scottish. Because if it were Scottish, it wouldn't be crap.
What would it be?
Well, isn't that the thing from the... If it's not Scottish, it's crap? Isn't that
What's that
sorry,
from?
Mike Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
Anyway,
technology things.
Back to the show.
Yeah. So maybe share a little bit more about like who you're speaking with and where they find jumping and leaping into the cloud. We've heard a lot about the autonomous cloud automation. Or, what's the
ACE.
autonomous cloud ACE stuff? Plus also some AI ops messages that's coming out as well. Is that something that leverages in what you're doing?
So this is usually day 2. So when we're modernizing applications, when it comes to the no-op pipelines and that AI engine, that's when our developers and our consultants can come in and leverage what that looks like. And we take as soon as it's set up and it's going, and we take the human element out of it, and we ask our DevOps guys to put their hands up going, like, what do you want me to do now? Because I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything.
Yeah,
this
it's running.
This will do it for you, and this will actually do my job now and walk away. And when customers see that, and the look on their face is, I don't need to keep you? No. No. So please don't hire, like the DevOps engineers, you don't need to hire full-time with the Dynatrace. It's like you get started, you let it go, and once it starts running, you really kind of, what are these guys going to do tomorrow?
Yeah. Or the human interaction just changes in terms of leveraging the information to do other things, make other decisions, business investment, where things need to be shored up. I mean, not that us minion humans, we might be removed from the equation. Right?
One of the things that when our customers can see what happens when they deploy something and the website is actually non-performant, so the JavaScript errors that are coming through, and that's a game changer for a lot of our customers because the front end has never been the love that they get. It's not as easy to monitor and to look at, and when you can put that level of monitoring and that, hey, you deprecated that the performance or the user experience on the front end, roll it back. Yeah. That's amazing for our customers. And when we tell them that this is what it can do, it's the whole game changer. Now it's not pointing fingers anymore. It's, hey, let's as a team, let's fix it. Because that's what it is. It's just as a team, we need to fix this. And it's not your side didn't, our side didn't. So it's not pointing fingers. It's like, hey, there's a problem. Dynatrace rolled that back for us. Let's
cool.
I just wanted to ask, when you're moving, when people are doing the cloud migrations and all this, are you working with a lot of lift and shifts, or are you trying to focus on cloud native, or let's not lift and shift, let's re-architect and make this cloud native as you go in?
We have to sit with our customers and have a conversation of how cloud native you want to be, like how cloud you really want this app to be. So when our application portfolio rationalization or our ACR process, we have to have this conversation, because if it's a small app that's used once a year or twice a year, we don't want to rewrite that. Let's just get it up there and let it run. But if it's driving 80-90% of your revenue, that's where we focus on true modernization. And with any cloud journey, you really need to take those baby steps first. So it's lift and shift, and then it's a modernization path as we go forward. So most companies can't just take that big, let's just rewrite this in the cloud tomorrow. It's too hard for...
Well, one of the dangers I hear a lot with lift and shift, it's coming out more, it seems, is that people don't realize what they're lifting and shifting. And so once they shift it to the cloud, either it stops working or performance starts tanking, all sorts of problems arise.
Yeah, because you're now adding 3,000 to 5,000 miles of network.
But not
and if you have a bias there, you'll kill it.
But besides even adding that, sometimes you have dependencies you hadn't realized that were part of that weren't connected through. What do you see with all that?
And that's one of the reasons why Smartscape, I'm a huge fan of it. We'll come in and I'll say, I need it to run for 6 months. And they look at me going like, we can't get started? No, I'm going to get started, but I need to see what those month-end jobs are. I need to see what those quarterly jobs are. I need to see what's a job that's running on a SQL server or a SQL DBA's laptop, and he never can go on vacation between the first and second of the month because he's got a job to run. Those are the ones I need to find, and those are where we get burned a lot of, is not seeing those things. And like I said, when I come to Smartscape, I just go in there and go like, you didn't know that was there, did you?
Yeah.
You didn't. Well, that's actually your DBA's laptop.
So we're going to have to move the DBA to the AWS cloud, and they're going to have to sit in that facility.
And some of the other things that we, and I try to tell our joint customers, is when you run Dynatrace, you actually have a gut check of your actual consumption and your use. And when you get to AWS, you get to Azure, GCP, you get what they tell you your usage is, and then you have what Dynatrace says it is. And it's not necessarily those same things. When you look at those numbers, you're going, and then I've had conversations with AWS reps going, why is it this? There's a big difference here, and what are we?
Yeah, they're not transparent at all on their algorithm for how they calculate pricing. And you know what? They get to charge higher prices for poor performing applications.
Mm-hmm. So if your application doesn't run well and it's not cloud native, if you just threw it into the cloud, they penalize you and charge you more. So either you're going to pay for it in the long run, or you're going to pay for it up front. I'd rather you pay for it up front, do it the right way, get it there, and make it performant.
Yeah.
I have a question just about sort of other cloud innovations that are coming, like in the serverless realm. So in Azure, you've got Azure Functions, you get the Lambda stuff happening in AWS, which are other options. Like once you get to the cloud and it opens the door, do you help people sort of, here's some things that are candidates to use other new services
when we look at, especially with serverless, we look at the actual usage. So when I have the conversation of how much is this used, do we know?
Yeah.
So when, again, when you look at what Dynatrace can, look at and you can see, you can kind of narrow down, I look at, well, we're using X amount. What does that translate into AWS? Now, if we're not using it a lot, then let's look at a service, a function, see if that's a better option. But we want to make sure that we're not putting something out there just because it's the cool toy. Yeah. And I'm writing my resume for my next job, because that's usually what happens with a lot of our architects. They want to play with the latest and greatest. Yeah. But then when they look at the cost, so, Dynatrace helps me like flesh out what, it's like, hey, we don't use it often. But it's used like 5 other places. Let's just put it here, and it's a safe place where we're not going to get killed on billing.
Yeah, one of the examples, Andy Grabner. Have you met Andy ever yet? Or?
No, I have not.
So when he started first playing with serverless, he wrote a function, and he realized by looking at Dynatrace how messed up it was, because he learned a valuable lesson in serverless functions. Started a process that then fired off, I think, 5 or 6 in series sub-functions. And the first one had to wait till they were all done to complete. But again, he didn't understand, never touched it and all. And he's looking at it, he's like, then looking at the billing coming through, he's like, this is a lot. And he's like, okay, so if I push these in series, or take this one out of the serverless function and just fire these ones, but like, it can help you just even visually, you can see that there's just a ladder. Yeah. And you can see it going in series and all. And again, a lot of the times, I think people make the same mistake when they just lift and shift, or when they make any kind of change, right? Hey, let's throw this as a microservice, but it's really a nano service, all doing the same thing, and all we did is add a network layer in between and complicating it more.
But it's really chatty for some reason.
Yeah. But hey, it's a microservice. No, it's a nano service. But people make the same mistakes with serverless. Oh, let's just toss this up in serverless, right? And there are definite rules and boundaries you need to follow if you're going to put something as a serverless function, because otherwise you're just paying for it.
And again, it comes down to data. And I think that was the theme of this year was data. And I think it's how Dynatrace is going, is being more data focused in the next couple of years. And if you look at the data that comes out of it, it helps drive our decisions. And no matter what your cloud is, it's going to drive that decision. Do I want to put it in a serverless, or do I want to just keep it as a microservice, or I like to call them domain services, because but I think that's what Dynatrace gives us a better ability to see.
Great. Yeah.
Very cool. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have a disaster story? Maybe not one of your customers, but something you could remember.
Use their name.
And then you could win a drone, because we can just add this into anyone we interview. Right? I just have a feeling you might have observed something.
I have a few disaster stories. One of them was with a client that I was working with, an engagement, and we had a threading issue, and your product line was new to us, and the operations team was their tier 2 support had access to it, and we war roomed. We came in, and that's where one of my first exposures to what Dynatrace could do.
Oh,
and
really?
They're like, all right, I can bring this up in the drill down that we did in there, and I'm like, wow, that's it? I go, can I get access to this? And they're like, well, you're just a consultant. I'm like, I want to see it. That's the first time I actually got to play. So we found out that we had a blocking thread, and we were in production, all hands on deck. I'm remote. And they were like, yeah, we just narrowed it down and said, hey, this thread is literally sitting. Yeah. And it's not, the garbage collection's not picking it up. And we knew how to fix it, but just to get to it, like in nanoseconds, it was right there.
Needle in a haystack.
So when we came back, and I got back into Magenic, and I had a conversation with our partner manager, I go, we really need to have a conversation on what this looks like. And he goes, why? I go, it saved our lives. Like, it was like, wow. I mean, this is a serious production issue. We were all hands on deck, 2 a.m. Eastern time, when I'm up and glass of whiskey and trying to figure out what this issue is. Dynatrace cut that whiskey short, but it felt good to know what the issue was in seconds.
Yeah, and then of course you
didn't have to drink all night.
The soporific effect after it's solved is like, wow, I can go to sleep.
I got to finish this whiskey and then go to bed.
Yeah. So and not, I still have to clean up that database
but that was
table.
But that was one of my first exposures to, Dynatrace. And when you look at some of your other competitors, and they've obviously, from a partnership side, they want to partner with you. And you look at what they offer. I'm like, and you guys have set a bar so high in this generation where I can't look at you as APM anymore. It's you guys are an entire platform.
Oh, that's good.
So
Dave Anderson would love to hear you.
Yeah, you can't look at it. So when you look at like, I got App Dynamics or something like that, I'm not trying to crap on anybody else's
You're
product.
not allowed to say those words.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say it.
We can bleep it out.
Bleep it out.
Like Richard Pryor on Saturday Night Live.
So when you look at their offerings and what the customers come to me like, hey, can you do your app rationalization with this product? Like, I'm like, can. It's going to be hard, but I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I can bake a cake with no eggs. It's not going to be the same, but sure.
Like a vegan no eggs.
Or you could build a cake. So,
You build a cake.
side note,
in
you ever
Spanish.
watch Napoleon Dynamite?
I have.
So you know the whole line, like, I'll build her a cake?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone laughs at that? Well, we found out from Leandro Melendez here, Senior Performo, that's how you say it in Mexican or in Spanish. You build a cake.
Yeah.
If you make a cake, it's kind of dirty. So it's
It's a little salacious in
difference in use of
Espanol
the
to
word.
make a cake.
Wow.
it's to build a cake.
I should.
It's
My
build a
wife's
cake.
learning Spanish now. It's like her, midlife crisis, and she's learning Spanish. So I'll have to ask her, like,
Yeah,
this.
Leandro can give you some tips on what to say to your wife.
Okay.
Like,
She's-
let's go make a cake.
Yeah,
That's what-
she's
maybe on a
she's
date
here
night,
in
that'll be
Vegas.
good.
She's here in Vegas this week with me. She's not in the conference hall, but I'll bring her by and be like, hey, explain some things to me.
Yeah, let's go make some cakes.
So
It's a little
Well,
side
hey,
note, but yeah.
hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
there's gonna be a lot of
They changed
bleeping
their
here.
slogan. What happens in Vegas only happens in Vegas.
Right.
Which I don't know why they changed it. But we're in, do you know what? By the way, do you know what city we're in right now?
We're in paradise.
Done.
First person.
Yeah, here you can have a free sticker. we got other things to give away.
Yeah, we're in paradise actually. Las Vegas is just outside.
So
the
you and your
strip.
wife had 2 tickets to come to Paradise?
Ooh, that was a good one. That was a good one coming up.
Robert, tell us a little bit about how to maybe follow you in Magenic. I think it's at
So,
Magenic. Is
At Magenic is Magenic's Twitter handle. I am Robert Sirk on Twitter. I will talk about cloud. I'm not political up there, so it's. I'll talk about Alabama football and cloud modernization. It's the only thing you'll hear.
Hey, I know a lot of Auburn people. That could be political.
you guys would be good.
That's a house divided.
Yeah.
It is. At the same time, if my fellow broadcasters wouldn't recognize you have a voice for radio,
I do.
do you have some background? Do you have a podcast?
You said something about having a blue Yeti microphone.
There was a Magenic podcast
There
years
is a
ago.
Magenic podcast. I have not done an episode.
Yeah.
One of my goals is to do radio sweepers, so I can just introduce something or someone. I want to DJ or host an event.
Do you want to re-record the Dynatrace Perform Las Vegas opening?
If you can give me a script,
All right, yeah, we'll set you up with that. That would
We'll
be
do
good.
it real
but,
quick.
Magenic does have a podcast.
They do. I'm supposed to be doing that in the next month.
Okay.
But my travels have been really tight lately, so
And Paul's been on there.
Paul's
and
been
a
on
couple
there.
of you have some customers that join when they can, and but
Yep.
there's other practitioners and folks from inside Magenic that are
correct.
sharing stories.
So
and
we
things.
will bring in. We have 6 or 7 different practices that we bring in. I share a practice with another individual, Stuart Williams, and him and I cover all cloud. And then Paul covers what we do in a lot of
The testing space.
the testing space and test automation space
It's,
as well.
it's great. So tune in to the Magenic podcast as
Correct.
well, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, awesome.
Well, thank you very much for joining
Thanks,
us.
guys. I really
Thank you.
appreciate
really
it.
thank you so much.
Cool. And Leandro's gonna
Take us
Give
out.
us-
take us out with either music or more dancing.
Yeah.